As you meanwhile know, the third round of negotiations has ended without real progress, and an important period is running out. And that's why EU Chief Negotiator Barnier already warns of the risks of a disorderly Brexit. These rounds were a virtual marathon. Around 500 experts and lawyers were in these video conferences in the 11 thematic areas of the Brexit negotiations. For 4 days they discussed from freight transport to fishing to police cooperation. In the end, all this effort was in vain. And Barnier was clearly frustrated after that, because he said it was just a round of different point of views without any progress. And that the UK even hasn't got involved in the level playing field negotiations. And that is a key part of the EU. Level playing field means that the EU demands that the UK must comply with certain rules to get access to the internal market. And that's stuff like consumer protection, working condition, environmental regulations. And we're talking about quite a huge market. Brussels doesn't want a dumping producer on its doorstep. At least not a dumping producer with access to their market, because that would undercut European standards. And at this point, there's absolutely no movement at the moment. The British side always only insists, we are an independent country, we are deciding for ourselves, we make our own rules and regulations. And we don't allow the EU to impose rules on us. If it was that easy, that would just be fine, because that would just mean stop now. If that's what the British government want, they should move away from that table, and that's it. Because they absolutely do know you won't get access to any market without paying the price for entering. And that's exactly what the EU replies. That's the price you have to pay if you want to get access to our market. If you don't want this, you'll get quotas, you pay tariffs, which the customers would have to pay in the end, and so nobody's going to buy your stuff anymore. And this argument is running in circles for 3 rounds of negotiations now. And the British side has even no ambition to clarify the legal framework for the agreement. And that also applies for different fields like money laundering, the role of parliament or civil society, and police cooperation. And this just would mean the British could just turn down the Convention on Human Rights and the Standard of Data Protection, because reciprocity is no longer guaranteed as it was while the UK was an EU member. And almost everyone here in the EU believes that, like in a divorce, the UK just want to cherry pick their way through these negotiations. Because you can't just pick the most attractive part of an internal market without fulfilling the associated obligations. And now there's even a proverb coming to existence that says there seems to be a real lack of understanding of the mechanical, real consequences of Brexit. If you're out, you're out. If you want to come in even partly, you have to pay the entering fee. And that nobody seems to understand on the other side of the negotiation table. And as I mentioned before, David Frost even keeps his negotiation proposal a secret. The EU published their complete negotiation paper, their proposal. The UK side is just handing over secret drafts for single topics during the negotiations, but nobody knows what they put together. And I said something else before. One thing about the negotiations from the EU side that is really important is transparency. What we get from the UK side is secrecy. And many Brexiteers always talk about how democratic is what. The secrecy, compared to the transparency of the EU, is not very democratic, because your own people do not know what you are doing. And at the moment I'm starting to believe that even Barnier really knows that there's not enough time for any outlining of an agreement anyway. The 4th round of talks will begin on 1st of June, and after that there will be a meeting on the government level to determine whether there's enough progress to continue the negotiations. And if that is not the case, one side would have to table the application for the extension of the transition period. But even with the damages of the corona crisis on their back, the UK government still says no extension under no circumstances. Even now, even Brexit supporters are pushing for an extension. The government doesn't seem to listen. Many suspect now that Boris wants the EU to ask for more time, to blame everything on them, because they are unable to do it in the time available, and it's not his fault. And that all just means one thing. We in the EU have to step up our preparations for a hard break at the end of the year. The only thing that's for sure is the relationship to Northern Ireland of that time. And for the rest, we will have to work with tariffs, quotas and so on under WTO rules. And both sides should notify their public very soon what we have to expect from January 2021. But is everything lost? It gives the impression that the negotiation poker is still in full swing, even if Barnier only names fishing as a bright spot. Because in the case of fishing, despite everything the UK government said before, there is movement already. And you're not talking about the maximum demands on both sides. There you are talking about zones and types and stuff like that. So the UK government seems to start to agree on that Belgian, French and Danish fishers can enter UK waters. Surprise, Brexiteers. And of course, what I published in a video recently, there is now movement on the British side that they understood that they have to be checks and controls in Northern Ireland and that they need to set up border control posts. They denied that for a long time as well, but now they have stated to the EU that they will do that. It is a part of the withdrawal agreement anyway. But I do not want to be in Barnier's shoes, because he still, although I heard recently that he was quite angry after some talks there, and as angry as no one has ever seen him before, but usually he stays quite calm and determined, but definitely not optimistic. These negotiations are really not only for Barnier but for the whole EU a school of patience. And even if he now didn't say the clock is ticking, it is ticking. Because there's one thing about the extension no one should be illusional about, no former Remainer and no Brexiteer. If there's no extension applied for until July, there will be no extension. It is part of the exit contract, which is ratified by 28 different countries. You can't just change it to autumn or something to have a longer time until this deadline. That definitely is not possible to do. The only thing you could achieve is some minimum contract with some appendixes about air traffic or something like that, but that wouldn't really take the damage away. And in the UK they really have to say goodbye to their illusions that you can just copy and paste other trade agreements. Soon you're gonna see some videos about the trade agreements the EU has with other countries. Of course there will be Canada with CETA and Australia, because that's the countries Brexiteers always bring up, members of the UK government always bring up. I'll give you some more details about this, what this meant, but also how long it took to negotiate these details. And you can't just copy and paste them. And also, even if Brexiteers always deny this in my comments, it is a special situation and a different situation if a trading partner is thousands of miles away or on your doorstep. But now we just have to see how far this patience can bring us. It won't last long anyway, because then the time is up. If you want to know a little bit more about European politics from a German point of view, I put you my next video in the end screen. Click and enjoy. I'll see you there. Viel Spaß!